Hello and welcome back to Fine Print for Life. I'm Monique, and on this channel we talk about money, motivation, mindset, and other useful things we don't normally learn in school. Today's video is a continuation of my networking series, which I started a few months ago. If you haven't already seen that video, I will link it here and as well in the description below. Now, when I first made that video, I had planned to make a second video on how to network at work. I understand that some of us are still working from home, some people are looking for new work or opportunities, and I've decided to pivot a little bit and make this video about how to maintain your connections during a time of COVID. But before we get into the video, it would so greatly help me out if you could hit that like button. Just smash it. It's down below. It really takes like a second. Let us talk about how to maintain our network in the time of COVID. Our social engagements are way down nowadays. We are probably seeing a fraction of the people that we normally see on a day-to-day basis. In my first video, I mentioned one way to network was meeting people on the bus or when you go get your coffee in the morning. And unfortunately, these things don't happen as much these days. So here are 5 useful tips to keep maintaining your relationships. Tip number 1, stop being a stalker and start reaching out to people on your social media networks. I feel like before social media came along, you caught up with people on the phone or via email, in person, and because we have instant access to people's lives, we see their weddings, we see that they had a new kid or got a new pet or moved somewhere. And we kind of engage by liking their picture or their post. And while that's nice and all, it's not really a meaningful engagement. One thing to do is to actually make use of the direct message and send them a message and see how they're doing. People's lives are so curated on social media and you don't really know what's going on with them. Actually, last night I had a really nice engagement. I posted something on my Instagram and a friend from grad school reached out and we just had a really lovely time catching up. It was great to know where he was living and what he was up to because I didn't get any of those updates just by looking at his social media feed. This is one super quick and easy way to maintain a relationship. Tip number 2 is for people that you're not really engaged with on social media, send them an email or text message. This applies more to people that you had a closer relationship with, like former colleagues or friends from college or from school or from wherever. I like to every quarter or so go through my list of contacts and say, hey, who haven't I talked to in a while? And maybe I should just see what they're up to, because for me, the connections that I make with people, I want them to be genuine. I think because social media has made it so easy just to like what everybody's up to, the art of the phone call or the art of the text message or email is kind of lost in all of that. And so for me, when I receive a personal email from a friend saying, hey, how are you? Or hey, here's an article you might be interested, or I saw this and I thought of you. That means a lot to me, and it is a way that we keep in touch with each other in a more meaningful way than just liking an image or a picture or a post. Schedule regular Zoom calls or phone calls with people. This is really useful for people who work in a setting and are now working remotely. There were times probably in the office and acquaintances in the office that you didn't work closely with, but you bumped into in the elevator or in the kitchen while getting morning coffee, or that you just stopped by each other's offices to have a quick catch up. Those relationships are also meaningful and I think are still worth maintaining. One thing some colleagues and I have done are to put a standing meeting on the calendar for just 15 minutes to kind of mimic those impromptu interactions that we're not having anymore. And that way we still know what's going on in each other's department. That way we can still have these connections with our friends. And chances are, if you're working in an office, you can make use of things like Skype or Microsoft Teams or Google Chat or Zoom. All of these are really, really great ways to keep that momentum up with your colleagues. And of course, it doesn't have to only apply to colleagues. It can apply to people that you just want to see regularly. Number 4, make use of snail mail. So one of the lovely things about quarantine is that I have been getting more snail mail than I have in years. And what I mean by this is sometimes I will get a random note in the mail, or once I opened my porch door and there was a little bag with this little guy sitting in it from a friend of mine, and he knew that I liked this little owl and he was moving, and so he just dropped it off at my doorstep, which was really, really kind and sweet. And I will treasure this little owl forever because I love it so much. But it was one way to kind of keep momentum going in our relationship. And one thing that I do is, in general, even when we're not in quarantine, I do like giving people at work notes or little like trinkets or gifts or something. And so I always keep on hand a stash of blank stationery. This is like a really nice high-end brand. It's a little on the pricier side, but it's so versatile that I don't have to go out and buy specific cards for birthdays or thank yous or whatever. I can just make my own. And I'll link the brand to the stationery down below. But a colleague of mine, again, very thoughtful, brought me all this little washi tape when we were still in the office, and I use this to decorate these cards. And I think by having little notes and things like that, it takes it a step further, and it's a simple thing. It'll take you 5-10 minutes. It goes a long way. Other ideas that people have done for me during quarantine is I've been sent like a nice coffee cake to say, hey, hope we can get back together soon one day and have our 3 o'clock breaks. Or another artist friend of mine made a little zine and sent that to me, and it was personalized and really just so thoughtful. And other friends just send me postcards to say hi. Snail mail doesn't have to be expensive. It can be a really simple gesture that really takes it the extra mile. Just because we're virtual doesn't mean we can't keep expanding our networks or introducing people to each other. In my first video, I mentioned that I enjoy introducing people I know to each other if they don't already know each other. Not only is this a generous act, but it's also really thoughtful and helpful. And I think by continuing to expand our networks, it can only help us. I recently had a call with a manager just to check in and say hi. And she was so thoughtful and kind and knew that I had the same interests and background as another friend of hers. And she introduced us via email, which was so thoughtful and so nice. And I will remember this gesture. And not only does it make her look really good, but it also expanded my network and the other person's network. Those are my 5 tips for continuing to maintain your network during a time of COVID. Are you still reaching out to people? Are you still continuing to expand and build on your network? Here's some homework for you if you are interested. Just go ahead and do one thing from each tip that I have. I guarantee you it won't take you very long, and it'll be nice to reach out and hear from somebody that you haven't seen in a long time. All right, so that's what I have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me again, and I look forward to seeing you next weekend. Bye.